Hello and welcome to Bored and Confused, where I review shows based on two criteria. One, was I bored? Two, was I confused? Today's show is Andre DeShields is Tartuffe. This is playing at a very cool theater off-Broadway. It's a house that has this library in it from the 16th century. It was shipped from Italy and rebuilt in this house. I believe the house was built around the library, so this is like the main focal point of this house. Anyhow, they sometimes do concerts and events in this space, and this is where Tartuffe is playing with Andre DeShields. It seats about 100 people. The chairs go around the library, and the play takes place in the middle, and you are close to the actors. Okay, I'm so excited about this that I've skipped my little intro bit. Please like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me. All right, let's get into this. So I am familiar with Tartuffe. I mean, it's probably Moliere's most famous play. It's in the public domain, so it's done all the time. There's actually another production starring Matthew Broderick coming in just a matter of weeks. So if you want to watch Tartuffe, it is probably being done somewhere near you. So I've seen this play many times. I love this play. I think it's very funny. And it's written in rhyming couplets. So this translation is done by Ranjit Bolt, and it's a fun version. The problem with writing in couplets is you can start to sound like Dr. Seuss, and that does happen a few times in this play. That's also dependent on the actors to try to keep it from sounding like da-da-da-da-da-dee, da-da-da-da-da-pee, Anyhow. And also I found the language of this adaptation to be a little all over. Like, it didn't all feel like it was French, and it didn't all feel like it was of the period, because some phrases were very modern phrases. Some of the references also felt like they were more from like British or English references as opposed to French. But other than that, it was a fun, concise adaptation, and I really enjoyed this. So the show starts out, Tartuffe doesn't make his entrance until about maybe 14 minutes into the play. And this is one act. We go straight through. I didn't want an intermission. I was glad that it was short and succinct. Also, there's not a lot of bathrooms in this house that this library is in. So it's probably best to not have an intermission, because I think it would take forever. Have you ever had 100 people at your house for a party? There's a line for the bathroom. So Andre DeShields makes his entrance about 14 minutes in. Up to that point, I was just kind of, all right, this is cute. But then Andre shows up, the reason for the season, the man with the plan. This man knows how to make an entrance, and he enters in Andre DeShields style, singing Nina Simone's "And I'm Feeling Good," just the beginning of it. But the lights, the beautiful red costume, the jewelry. Andre is just this actor that, and he's old. He has such presence, and he's able to just stop, take his time. He did this in Hadestown. He makes a whole moment out of unbuttoning his vest. Same thing here. He just takes a moment, and he stops, and he feels himself. You're just, oh my gosh, I love this man. He's such a great actor. And, this experience to see him close up, I was in heaven. I could reach out and touch him. He was right there. And, Andre DeShields is up there in years, and bless his heart, the show's already open. He still doesn't know all his lines. But did I care? Not at all. He carries around a script like it's a Bible. There's a lectern that he can place it on. There's a few moments where he hands the Bible off to this person who's playing kind of a servant or whatever, and he also, I'm sure, understudies the roles. Hands it off to him, and there was one moment where he did call for a line, but he did it so seamlessly. It wasn't until even after it happened that I went, why did that guy speak? And I went, oh, Andre needed a line. But he picked it up right away. So look, it doesn't bother me. And maybe by the time I saw this a week ago, so by the time you see this, who knows? Andre DeShields maybe just rip-roaring his way through this. But because he has such presence, whenever he needs to pause to kind of find his line, I'm there with him. He's listening to God. Because, in case you don't know the plot, Tartuffe, I'm so excited to talk about Andre, I forgot to tell you what this play is about. So Tartuffe, it's about this family in France, and the father has been hoodwinked by this unscrupulous priest, and As the play progresses, we discover this priest has convinced this man to sign over all of his belongings, his property, to Tartuffe. And despite the family, they all know what a fraud he is. And they're trying constantly to get him to see the truth, and he just won't. And this show is always timely because there are always those fraudulent clerics out there who are bilking people of their money. Also, I found this very timely politically with the religious zeal around political figures, where people are saying that God has sent this political figure who clearly is a fraud, and everyone can see that except these people who are like wrapped up in a cult. And ironically, in Tartuffe, spoiler alert, Orgon, the father of the household, does eventually come around to realize that Tartuffe is a con man, but by the time he comes around, it's too late. But I just felt the fact that they were able to even convince him, I thought was like, wow, this almost feels unbelievable, because there's so many people in the world right now who have such religious devotion to political figures that I don't see that they would ever come around. The cognitive dissonance is so strong that it would destroy their sense of self if they were ever to really understand that this person they're in love with is a complete con man and a liar. So I found this play is timely. So I loved seeing it with Andre DeShields. I'm going to love seeing it again with Matthew Broderick in a bigger off-Broadway theater. For the most part, I feel like this play is staged very well by the director, Keaton Wooden, and it shows you how simply this play can be done just with a couch and a chair, and most of it kind of takes place in the same setting, which, plays back in the day, build one set and you're done. And we're in this beautiful library, so it just worked really well in this space. You didn't have to build a set. They had a 16th century Italian library, even though it's set in France. Though the staging a few times got a little clunky for me, and a part of this might have been because Andre wasn't completely off book and needed that lectern to sometimes reference the script. The biggest scene was Amber Iman plays the role of Elmire, the wife of Orgon, who's played by Chris Hahn. And there's a seduction scene where Orgon is hiding and Elmire trying to show her husband what a lech Tartuffe is by allowing Tartuffe to seduce her. And I just physically, I want to keep the tension high. You want it to get to the point where you feel like she is about to be impregnated by Tartuffe. I mean, you want them to get really close to having sex, because Orgon is that blinded by Tartuffe that it has to get really far. And I felt with the staging, it didn't really feel natural. There's a lot of room for comedy, physical comedy in that staging, and I didn't feel like it quite was there. So that's one little quibble. There was a few staging moments where I just wish the physical comedy could have been a little stronger. So let's just talk about the cast real quick. They're all really great. Amber Iman, she recently did Goddess at the Public, which I was unable to see, get a press ticket. And I did see her she was one of the bright lights in Lempicka on Broadway. And Chris Hahn as Orgon was earnest, gullible. I thought he had good chemistry with DeShields. Tyler Hardwick, who plays Demis, was very high energy, and he was playing him very fey, very gay. And this play starts with the actors come on the stage into the space. They talk about the history of the space, and they say, I will be playing this, I'll be playing this, I'll be playing this. So we do get this moment of the actors introducing himself, then going into the play. So we get this casual feeling of that we're watching actors doing a play. And I think that worked great in this space. But some of the actors kind of hang on to this idea that they're an actor playing a character, where other actors, I felt, just once they started playing their role, disappeared into their role. And there's varying levels of that. So Tyler Hardwick, who plays Demis, was, of all of the actors, was still kind of being the actor playing Demis. And because he's clearly a gay man, he was doing a lot of like Yas Queen kind of stuff that probably was not intended in the script. And while it did get some yucks, I wish he would have been a little fuller in the character and less reminding the audience that we're watching an actor play this character. Ambry Mon, Chris Hahn, they really went right into their characters. Alexandra Socha as
Marianne,
delightfully clueless, as Orgon's daughter who's to be betrothed to Tartuffe against her will. Charlie Lubeck as Valère he also did some very ridiculous physical stuff, like his running was ridiculous. But it worked for me in his case because it just made sense in this space. There wasn't room for him to run in, so he made a joke out of it. This casting was the most confusing, and that's Todd
Buonopane,
who I love. He was in Putnam Annual Spelling Bee as Barfy for a long time. I think he's really funny. And he was cast as the grandmother dowager.
Madame Pernelle,
And he was funny, but he's a man, and he was wearing a suit, a man's suit, and he's playing a woman. And, you know, look, grandmothers, dowagers are often hysterically played by men in drag. But he wasn't in drag. So that's the confusion I had. I was like, you know, I would rather see an older woman play this or put the man in drag. I didn't find it that funny to have a man in a suit playing old woman. It just was confusing to me because we didn't do it anywhere else with the casting. Speaking of, the part of
Cliente,
which is usually the brother of
Elmire,
is now played by a woman. She's been reimagined as a sister-in-law, which totally works. And rounding this out is Phoebe Dunn as Doreen, the maid, who I really liked. She chose to do a Cockney accent, which was an interesting choice because no one else was doing British accents. It does feel like maids should be Cockney, and you know what? Maybe they hired her from England. This is the thing, though. I think of Beauty and the Beast. Lumiere and the duster, Babette, are the only two characters that have French accents in a story where everyone's French. So I don't know. What if the maid would have been the only one with a French accent? I mean, it might have worked. It works in Beauty and the Beast, even though it makes absolutely no sense. But anyhow, no, it worked. The Cockney worked. I thought she was great. She was in her character. She was in it to win it. And I really enjoyed her performance. All right. So music. Andre DeShields comes in singing, and he sings, I think, 2 more times during the show. There's a pianist there, so he's accompanied. The show actually begins with the pianist. It's kind of a piano bar feel. And I showed up right before because I went to the No Kings March, which is going to come into play here when we get into the play. And then I been marching all morning, so I had to use the restroom and I had to wait in a long line for the men's restroom. But I could hear that people were singing. And I think one of them, Amber Iman, I think sang a song from a Fats Waller song, which maybe was a little tip of the hat to Andre DeShields, who was in the original Ain't Misbehavin'. And so I was like, oh, I gotta pee, but I really wish I was in there. By the time I made it in there, it was just the pianist was singing songs. So come early. 1, it's general seating, so you'll get a better seat. And 2, get to hear, I think Amber Iman sings. I think a lot of the cast, a lot of them are singers, sing for you. Get 2 shows for the price of 1. So definitely come early and check that out. I wish the pre-show songs, though, I wish they had something to do with Tartuffe. Like if they were all Edith Piaf songs, if they were French songs, if they sang Lady Marmalade even would work. Or if they sang like Madonna's Like a Prayer, you know, sang songs that were religious or French in tone, I think would have been nice because they just seemed to be songs that the pianist liked to play. And it didn't really prepare me for the show the way it could have. And Andre DeShields' singing moments are so great. He doesn't sing full songs, but he just launches into these. It's like his character is so pious and so in touch with God that he just sings. To me, I went, why not? It makes perfect sense to me. Boy, am I the president of the Andre DeShields Stan Club? I think I might be. All right. So speaking of kings, let's get to the end of this play. Now, this play has a very interesting ending. When Moliere originally wrote this play, King Louis XIV wouldn't allow it to be performed because it was critical of religion, critical of the clergy. That is, until Moliere changed the ending of the play, where the king comes in and solves everyone's problems because he's able to see through Tartuffe's deceit, and he sets everything right. And once Moliere wrote this ending, lo and behold, King Louis XIV allowed this play to be done. So I love that backstory. And in a way, I wish someone would do a translation that somehow tipped its hat to the fact that we're watching an ending of this play that was made specifically to appease royalty. I find that fascinating because on its own merit, the show it's a
Dieu ex machina
ending where suddenly just everything is wrapped up and fixed by royal decree, and it's not a satisfying ending by any means. So it's like I want someone to, maybe it'll be me, but I want someone to create an ending for this play where it feels more to satisfactory, and maybe it gets meta and it references the fact that Moliere wrote this ending specifically so he could get his play produced. So let's wrap this up. Was I bored? Not at all. Potentially I could have been, but then Andre DeShields came in and then he's there for the rest of the play. So I was like, it's Andre DeShields. I just loved him. He's so great. And it's worth it to see it just for him alone. So was I confused? As I mentioned, some of the translation, was a little confusing exactly where we were, and the casting of a man to play the grandmother but not in drag was confusing to me. But overall, this is fast, campy. I loved the play Tartuffe. I loved Andre DeShields in it. I love his less is more approach, which I kind of didn't mention. A lot of these other actors were really kind of doing louder, faster, funnier. And then Andre DeShields comes in and shows you how he can do less, he can do slow, and he can have us hanging on every word. So go check out Tartuffe. Where can you get tickets? I got my ticket for $52, which was completely worth it for this, just 100 people in this intimate experience. What a great deal. I played the lottery on Today Tix. I know there's probably other places, but that was a great way. And what you do is you enter the lottery, so you don't have to be there at 9 a.m. to click it. You can enter the lottery, but make sure you give it your phone number so you get a text, because if you win the lottery, which I won 3 times. The first 2 times I missed the text because I was doing something else. You only have 30 minutes to buy your ticket. It starts at 10 a.m. and you might get a text. I got one like at 10:15 and I got another one at 3 p.m. So you just don't know when you might win the lottery, because I think it's just cycling through everyone who's entered. So great way to get cheap tickets. I really loved this show. I'm so happy to be able to bring a nice positive review to you guys. So thanks for watching, and I will see you at the next one. Bye-bye.